Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this exclusive live webinar with Alex Collier and Rob Potter. We're thrilled to have you with us as we delve into the fascinating realms of cosmic diplomacy and extraterrestrial interactions with the Andromedans, Venusians, and Pleiadians. Today, you'll gain insights that promise to expand your understanding of our universe and challenge your perceptions of our place within it. Before we start, we need to mention a few important points. The content presented in this webinar is copyrighted material. We encourage and appreciate your enthusiasm in sharing what you learned today, but please do so in your own words. Directly copying or distributing the material from this webinar undermines our hard work and impacts our ability to continue providing you with these unique insights. Now let's get ready to explore the universe with Alex and Rob. Prepare your questions for a lively Q&A session, and let's start this incredible journey together. Here's your host, JP.
How can I compare with that? Here's your host, JP. That's great. Thanks very much. That was great. That's James, who's using lots of software to generate that, and it's quite a thing. Welcome. Look, listen, I'm back. I didn't take too long to go away. I was a little taken ill, but it now turns out that I had pneumonia, which is why I was looking so terrible last week, if anybody saw that one. I had a kind of pneumonia which brought on heart palpitations and versions of flu or COVID or whatever you had. Anyway, I'm better now. I've even got a little quantum device that arrived yesterday. So that's really cool. So I have that by me, heart and lungs, and I'm feeling quite good. Lots of energy. It's lovely. So welcome. Now tonight we got a lovely special guest, a very old friend of Alex and mine as well. I helped I worked with him on Revolution Radio several years ago, and he sent me a lovely pyramid, beautiful Fred Bell type pyramid from all the way from Mount Shasta. So, without very much further ado, I'd like to introduce the star of our show, Alex Collier. Good evening, Alex. How's things?
Hi, everybody. I hope you're all well. We have a really interesting program for you today. And it's an honor and a privilege to bring Rob to you. Many of you probably know him. I know we have a lot of new people who are just coming up to speed. Rob has been around a very long time. He's been awake even longer than that. Rob and I go back 20 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. And, he's just an excellent guy. He keeps his word. He means what he says. He says what he means. And even though we don't always agree, it's always insightful. And today we're going to be talking about many different topics. Towards the end, we will have a Q&A. And then I would ask, after Rob leaves, I would ask you to stay on for an additional 10 minutes or so, because I have some things I need to share with all of you. Okay, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rob Potter from Mount Shasta, California.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on, Alex. It's always a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Collier has been a hero of mine. I learned about the reptilians in 1978. In 1982, a special messenger was sent to me. And he showed me a lot of things about the Greys. This is in 82. They were just coming on the scene. And I met people like Bo Greitz and William Cooper and some amazing contactees. So Alex's work has always been monumental. By the way, JP and I go back to 2000 and I think it was 12 when I was on Revolution Radio. So JP is a wonderful light worker, and James Harkin, thank you so much. We've been trying to get all the some images and recordings. And I'm just going to say today, anything Alex and I disagree about is something, it's more like in the world political thing, but in the alignment of the vision of what we're doing, we are lock solid. He has the real physical contacts. He's always been extremely humble. Alex has always been absolutely honest. He has faced a tidal wave of opposition because of the nature of his information, and he was the tip of the spear in revealing what has happened since the default in the heavenly administration of what we would call the fall or the Luciferian rebellion. And I just have the greatest respect for you, Alex, and I know that your retirement, a lot of people are going to miss you, but thank God you're still here on the webinars.
Thanks, Rob. You're always a gentleman and a scholar.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess I could start. So what the Venusians asked me to do recently, I'm born on March 31st. So every 7 years, my birthday falls on Easter. I was born at 2:20 a.m. And this last March 31st, Easter was on my birthday. And, I was I've had some stuff going on. I was in a car accident and whiplash, stuff like this. But I basically was recovering, and I woke up to go to the bathroom. And at 2:00, and I laid down, and all of a sudden, I started to get a transmission. A Kundalini. I practice the science of Kriya Yoga. For those of you who follow Yogananda, I was visited by Mahavatar Babaji in 1978. He called me into a situation. He taught me this technique of meditation called the science of the still breath, offering the in-breath to the out-breath. Physically, he was there, and I was initiated. And so this energy started to come over me, and a voice in my head said, change it up. You got to change it up, because I was kind of, my summer conference is usually quite successful, and Alex understandably had to pull out this year. But we love him very much, and he's been the biggest hit at the conference. Alex comes there, and if he's there, it's like bees to honey. The people just come and magnetize around him, and even if he's not speaking, he's generously giving of his time and speaking with let's just call them acolytes who want to learn from him. So this year, my conference, I'm about 70 tickets short of what I normally have, and it's an expensive deal. So they said, change it up. Just share the messages. Now, I've been honored throughout my life. I was in contact with the Pleiadians in Semyasi. I was beamed aboard the ship in 1989, although I can only remember a smidgen of that. And so in the 80s, I started to have contacts with Venusians. And then in 2018, if you could pull up that bright picture, James, that shows the two of us, it's not the clearest. This is a picture of me and Raymond Keller. Raymond Keller is a very unique contactee. He's had experiences his whole life. Sorry, yeah, looks like we're ghosts there, but the lighting. So that's me and him. Raymond is now, I think he's 4 years older than me, so I think he's 70 or 71, and you can pass that picture now. But he was very fortunate in that he met one of the teachers that I met, named Gabriel Green, in Yucca Valley. I was a massage therapist my life, and Gabriel Green used to call me up. I used to go up and visit him. He was like I'm going to say James Gillen on steroids, but he would take individuals. I'd go up to his house. My car would go dead, and I'd coast in, and my girlfriend's hair would stand out, but mine wouldn't. We'd be talking. A television would turn on. A picture would tilt, and they were showing me that they're monitoring everything. So I was going through the understanding of their abilities. And one time I said, well, what do they wear? And he said, well, they love the 50s, Rob. I go, really, the 50s? And I go, okay. He said, yeah, their hair slicked back, the whole 9 yards. So I went to a TikTok with another contactee named Michael Elysion, and in comes this mint condition 1957 baby blue and white convertible Chevy, one driver, and there's Don Thor. You can bring up the picture of Valiant Thor now, sitting with the woman and Don Thor, that was taken by Augie Roberts. And I actually had the originals from Dr. Frank Strange, just gave them to me. So that picture that you're seeing now, that's coming up, is Don Thor was in the middle. So he gets out of the car. There were three absolutely gorgeous girls with white blonde hair, like platinum, kind of like Valiant Thor's wife, Jill. They're on the left. I met Valiant Thor in 2003. I met the wife in 2007 at Dr. Frank Strange's meeting. And Don Thor pulls up, and I was looking at him. His hair was back in a ducktail. And so these three girls hopped out. They had plaid mini skirts, not the length of the 50s, but a little smaller. And they skipped through the store with a vivacious energy and the joy of a 12-year-old girl. They had two, one had like this, one had a ponytail, and a ponytail, the pigtails, and I forget what the other hairs was, but they skip into the store, and Don comes up as I'm checking out and gets in front of me, and he turns to me and he goes, "I'll have a pack of cigarettes." And go, "What time?" He goes, "Camel." And so he looks at me again, and I telepathically said, "I know you guys don't smoke cigarettes. Go ahead and smoke it." This was like 1982. You could light up in a TikTok. So he goes, "I'll have some matches." Now he's wearing a white T-shirt, jeans, penny loafers, and I looked down the guy. He had a penny in the penny loafers. There's a little spot. It was off the charts. They were just letting me know. They said the 50s, and 20 minutes later, they took the time to bring the ship down, cloaked, drop this out. Now, recently, there's members of the inner circle that go of the Valiant Thor's inner circle who go on ship twice a year, 3 men and 3 women. And Dr. Frank was one. There was a woman named Celestine Isha Starr. They revealed to me after she passed that she was one of them. And the other guy, I can't mention his name, he remains secret. He doesn't want to talk about it. Celestine didn't talk about it, but Dr. Frank was very open. And he said, "I've seen that car." So what happened was he took the cigarettes and he looked like he was going to smoke, and he rolled them up in his T-shirt. So that was one of my first contacts with the Venusians. And I've had many, many since where they don't admit who they are. But Valiant Thor has sent me voice recorded messages that I can't play. But today, I wanted to share, these are pretty long messages, but I wanted to share the Venusian messages from the Queen of Venus. And you can bring up that black and white color of the woman, the Queen of Venus. And the Queen of Venus, ladies and gentlemen, is determined by lifetimes of service, not by genetics. And she was born on Earth in 1585. And she was visited by the regent of Venus, known as the accidental apostle, the one who died with Christ on the cross. The Venusians call him Lord Dismas, and he is known as the ascended master of Moria. So they have been our guardians for a long time, and they have been the ones that's sending the green fireballs. They were responsible for the Foo Fighters, and they are the ones that coordinate and have the protocols, or actually the Galactic Confederation of Light jointly, which is comprised of 601 worlds and 51 solar systems in this quadrant of the galaxy. Includes Arcturus, Sirius A, B, C, Alpha Centauri, Proxima Centauri, and Wolf 56. And I have to answer. Okay, go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
You might want to explain what the Foo Fighters are, because we have a younger crowd. They wouldn't know.
The Foo Fighters is, besides being a band, is they have little Billy Meyer called them register discs or telemetrics. These are particular small balls, and these balls can have the ability to see into the ships and to actually look inside the the aircraft during World War I. The Russians thought it was the Germans. The Germans thought it was the English. The Americans, they were extraterrestrial. And Valiant Thor's ship was actually stationed over the European theater. They were watching very closely. And there's lots of stories that could go around that. But those are discs that look. When Fred Bell, my mentor, he got a PhD in physics at 17. He was drafted the Air Force at 16. He was put in charge of the world's top radar set in 1963 at the age of 20 years old. They go, who's in charge of this newfangled thing? And they go, it's that private out there, Private Bell. Here's Private Bell, the smartest kid in the room anywhere he goes, a nuclear physicist studying the shockwave of the atomic bomb at 15. And this most powerful radar set, looking 50,000 feet, could fry an egg with the frequencies. So they were watching the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the UFOs were coming in at 15,000 miles an hour and vectoring off of the magnetic grids down there. So they were not reporting them. So he was complaining every day for 2 weeks. And he put the report, they burn it, and they laugh, son, you don't know what you're doing. So he got his motorcycle, and he went outside the base commander's house and revved it up and did donuts for about 5 minutes. And the next day he went in and they said, Bell, you're coming up with that thing. Did you see a UFO? And they called in the military police, and they put him in a straitjacket and took him in to the psych ward. And he said, give me an honorable discharge. So still at the age of 20, he gets out and he gets a call from NASA. You got some electrical chops. And so he goes to NASA, and he's there about, again, it's 63. It's like maybe barely 64. And he starts complaining. These guys, you're going to have a fire. You're messing up. So he confronted he went up the chain of command. Then he stopped Werner von Braun in the hall with all these. He said it was like a geese leading ducks. And he said, you're having problems. And von Braun goes, Carl, deal with this. Take care of this. And they didn't. They fired him the next day. And then he went immediately to work for McDonnell Douglas, Northrop Grumman, and all that. And 2 years later, he won his lawsuit for 2 years back pay, and he got punitive damages. He got $100,000, and they came back and said, "Oh, Frederick William Bell, will you please be in charge of all quality control at NASA in the space capsules?" And he said no. So reason was 3 men died in the Cape in the capsule he was working on, and the fire took place. So then he went to work. He was a laser expert, and he worked on the Soyuz American docking technology and other things like that. So that was my mentor, and he was having contact with Semyasi, and that's how we started the contacts in my early days. So I think if you want to play one of the message, this is a 10-minute message from the Queen of Venus. This is given at my Mount Shasta summer conference. I get a voice recorded, a video recorded message. I got a voice recorded message from Valiant Thor. If you come to the conference, we play these. They do not want the videos of the commanders playing, but we'll show some pictures here. So you can maybe show the picture of the Queen, and we'll listen to this message. Alex was here for this one, and you can listen to the message from the Queen of Venus. And she does talk about some spiritual things. So let's listen to the Queen of Venus, and you may have questions from them.
Dear friends of Venus and light workers assembled at Mount Shasta in Northern California, this 22nd day of June 23rd, for the opening ceremonies of the 23 Summer Conference, The New Spiritual Paradigm, Angels and Extraterrestrials in the Multidimensional Universe. This is the Queen, Lady Order of Abahar, the planet of abiding love that you know as Venus, is speaking to you from a safe house situated somewhere on the east coast of the United States. I consider it a great honor for me to address you today. In the coming days, you will interact with many ascended souls touching your spirit to activate both a personal and collective transformation of consciousness, advancing you to yet higher levels of awakening and understanding. We have taken good note that many of you have already expressed your appreciation to Commander Valiant Thor, Alan, Lady Columba, Lady Aurora, Commander Aura Rains, Dr. Frank E. Stranges, our historian Publius Virgilius Morrow, our ambassador Omnek Onek, Helen and Betty Mitchell, Sister Thedra, Lady Ankara, and many others so dear to my heart, those of our angelic forces of light, for granting you access to night classes aboard our Victor class cloaked and ethereal star vessels in orbit above our planet. We are also pleased that so many of among you have already recognized your callings and missions in preparing your fellow beings of Earth for overcoming the obstacles that are surely headed to your planet in the difficult days ahead, long foretold by the avatars and prophets sent among you since the beginning of recorded history. You, dear brothers and sisters in the light, are the fulfillment of the prophecy written by the Apostle Luke to the General Assembly of the Church of the Firstborn in Acts 2:16, which reads as follows: "And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams." Now, I feel at this point that I should say something to you about angels, since that's the theme of this most special conference. Your understanding of just who and what angels are is limited by the religious constructs imposed on you since birth. Apart from the atheists or agnostic, however, most believers in God and a hereafter can acknowledge the existence of a heaven or pleroma populated with both some of our dearly departed ones and a class of highly evolved spiritual beings commonly referred to as the angels. The word angel is derived from the Greek angelos, which simply signifies messenger. In the Bible, Standard King James Version, we find a compilation of 66 books consisting of 39 in the Old Testament and 27 in the New Testament. We know that angels, therefore, are important insofar as they are mentioned 273 times in 34 of these 66 books. And in all of these references, we find angels always presented in the context of being otherworldly visitors of a primarily spiritual nature, but having the ability to appear to humans, in most instances, in a form similar to that of the human body, with slight variations. Reverend Dr. Frank E. Strange, who lived on Earth from the period of 1927 to 2008 and now resides in the Crystal City of Azure on Venus, was once director of the International Evangelism Crusade of Van Nuys, California, and a globally recognized authority of the subjects of extraterrestrial life and flying saucers. He now wants you to know that there are at least 4 classes of angels serving the inhabitants of the earth for various reasons: messenger angels, ministering angels, guardian angels, and reaper angels. These otherworldly entities frequently show up in the lives of human beings during their times of special need. Perhaps they will come to you in order to bring you safely through some distressing or dangerous situation, or perhaps to warn you of coming trials or catastrophe ahead. But in most cases, an angel will come to bring you words of spiritual knowledge, delivering secrets of the celestial realms, essential for your physical or spiritual salvation and eventual exaltation. Of course, these angels bring all of us such cosmic gnosis, not of their own accord, but as directed by the Father of lights. And then there is one classification of angels that long ago lost their privilege of serving humankind. These are the following ones: about 1/3 of the hosts of heaven that came from all 4 of these aforementioned categories of celestial servants, but put themselves in rebellion to the creator of the universe and were, as a result of their defiance toward God, ousted from heaven. These are the ones you have to look out for, my friends, as they are lurking in all the dark corners of your world, ready to pounce on you like a roaring lion. In a previous message imparted to you by our beautiful Clarion Moon based commander, Aura Reigns, she told you of the COVID pandemic, that it was but a foreshadowing of the pale horse prophecy in the Apostle John's revelation given from the Isle of Patmos in the year 99 of your common era. This was a direct sign that we are approaching the predicted 7-year period of tribulation, granting assurance to you, the saints of God in these later days, that the reaping angels are standing by to whisk you away to super earths, paradise worlds now being prepared for you in the Sirius star system, a celestial incubator. And all of this in order that you'll be saved from alarm and danger when the four horsemen will ride across the sky and the blast of the seven angels' trumpets will announce the pouring out of the vials of plagues and destruction upon the earth, such as have not been seen since the days of the prophets Noah and Moses. It's very important to act while there is still time. About these angels, they also appear to herald the birth of very important figures, or even those who would be emerging on the scene. Sometimes they would come to caution the world about an enemy who could potentially threaten it. That is another scripture from the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verses 6, 7, which has great importance in our day. It reads as follows: "And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters." This will be the last call, the last chance for many to escape in the rapture of the saints, the terrible calamities coming as foretold in the remainder of chapter 14. Do not hesitate to sound the voice of warning throughout the land. These visitors have been appearing since the beginning of time. If you go back into ancient history, you will find that in many cultures and civilizations all around the world, there is evidence of otherworldly visitors with wings who would come to speak with important figures on earth in whom they felt could help them in carrying out the contents of their messages. The wings, of course, quote unquote, are representative of this being's ability to fly. Overall, we know that there were messengers that came throughout time. And I will let you in on a little fourth dimensional Venusian secret. These angels also came to earth in and out of time. There was no partiality shown in the deliverance of the message geographically or spiritually. And so, do you want to know who is that angel flying in the midst of heaven? You, the light worker, are that angel. In fact, you were called to be an angel before you were ever incarnated on the earth plane. And that is your calling, dear one, to be a messenger of the light and spread the gospel or good news of the coming degrees of glory and exaltation that await each and every child of God, should they step up into that marvelous light. And please keep in mind Dr. Frankie Strange's and Lady Ankara's favorite verse, Hebrews 13:2, which clearly explains each and everyone's highest calling on earth's material plane. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. Exercising kindness is the key that unlocks the door to celestial riches, both abundant and eternal. Hold on to your heads, dear ones. We are all in for a real roller coaster ride in the next decade. This is the Queen, Order of Abahar. Thank you for your kind attention.
Well, thank you for listening to that. I've been watching the chat, and I wanted to explain a couple things here. The people, yes, she has a Spanish accent. She was born in 1585. Her parents gave her to a nunnery at the age of 5, and she decided to run away with the silver candlestick. She was a seamstress since the age of like 7. So she made herself an outfit, gave herself a hat, cut her hair, and ran away. She was headed to Barcelona. She was found herself in a hayloft at night sleeping, and an angel appeared to her, and with big crackling said, "Oh, the authorities are after you. Travel only at night. Take the long road and the southern route to Barcelona. And when you get there, confess that I have visited you to Bishop so-and-so. He is preparing to go to Peru in 2 years, where you can fulfill your heart's dream to meet your brother, who's a conquistador in Peru." So she does. She gets there. He believes her story. He says, "Continue to dress as a boy, and you will continue to dress as a boy, and you can go to, you can become part of my private security force." So she makes it all the way there. She's learned the lance, the broadsword, the mace and all that. And now she's there, and a guy finds out she's a woman and tries to rape her. She takes out her knife and puts him right in the heart. He drops dead. So she runs to the bishop. And when they found the guy, they went after her. And the Monsignor, this is in the days like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, he said, "You cannot come in here. Leave this woman alone." They said, "He killed someone." He said it was self-defense. She was raping him. He says, "I'm writing a letter to the Pope." And the military goes, "I'm writing a letter to the Pope." You got to wait till the boats go back and forth. And the Pope says, "Do not touch her hair on that woman's head. You bring her to me like a VIP. I want her in the second cabin, and the other guy can sleep with the rest." So she comes, he meets her, he believes her, he gives her a papal seal, and she comes back and she starts the first, probably, military police of the Spaniards, made up of men and women, to protect the local natives from the atrocities of the raping and pillaging that the conquistadors were doing. At some point in time, she found she was not aging, and she had to step away, but she kept coming back and supporting the true spiritual well-intended missionaries, not with the gold military aspect. But in 1830, she found herself in Solano Beach, California, and she observed a Russian fur trapper, and she started talking to him. And he says, "Well, Mount Shasta has some amazing stuff here. It's really a lot of lights, and there's people, and people say the little people live here and all." So she, with all of her years of experience, she was invaluable to all the things. So she spoke all the native languages, and she tried to keep them, the natives respected as much as possible. I believe it was Father Junipero Sierra who did the San Juan mission and stuff. But so what happened was she went back, got another horse and 4 pack mules, and she rode up to Mount Shasta. And somewhere on the mountain, she sees the same Russian fur trapper. And the Russian fur trapper transformed. He materializes as the angel that she met when she was 15. And so for those of you who don't know, underneath the mountain here, Mount Shasta, is a place they call Telos. Yes, so someone just said settled by Venusians. There was a Venusian colony on Lemuria for thousands of years, and they were aware of the problems between Atlantis and Lemuria. And when the asteroid was brought down and sunk Atlantis, 64 million souls died in one night in that big shift. Cusco was a port. It was pushed up to 12,000 feet. And so, yes, Telos is a Venusian colony. The sinking took place, and they've been here. They now have actually evolved there, cloaked in the 5th dimension. There is a military base nearby, Military Pass Road, and one of the guys, my landlord, actually said, yeah, in the 50s, they had military trucks, they cordoned it off, and they put it, there's an underground tunnel there. There's some bad stuff over there. Anyway, so to explain, that's her language, but they do speak a universal language. If you could show the picture of George Adamski, the artist picture of him standing in front of the painting with a woman holding a hand up, that is actually a woman. And Orthon was not a man. In this picture, she landed at a place out there in Desert Center. She was guided by 2 famous psychic. One was a guy named George Hunt Williamson. He wrote 5 books, Other Tongues, Other Flesh, and he talks about the secret places of the lion. The other one was that woman that she mentioned, um, Sister Thedra, who lived in Mount Shasta. She was very famous. She was a very spiritual telepathic, and she was running from the authorities and changed her name several times. But you see this picture here of the hair, and she's told George Adamski she's holding a universal translator. She did not speak High German at all, but as some people would think, but she was testing his heart to see where he was at. And that ship, there was a mothership, a cigar-shaped mothership, 145 yards long. There were 2 craft above, and there was 1 craft below. What is not reported in that encounter is that there was the driver of the small craft and another male had stood out to the side physically and was standing there watching as this woman contacted George Adamski. They had a conversation through a universal translator that she's holding, and eventually through his next contacts said this is going on. So there's a statement here. It says Val Thor was very disappointed that Stranges inserted Christianity in his book. That is not true. Valiant Thor told me specifically he spoke very highly of Christ to her about that. So I don't want to mention names here, but that story I have from Valiant Thor is absolutely different. So Christ actually appeared aboard Victor 1 ship, materialized in Dr. Frank Strange's. You could show that picture with me and him, and that's a whole longer story. So I'm going to turn it over to Alex, or if you guys have other questions here. These books are all on my website. Dr. Raymond Keller, the other individual that looked like we're white ghosts, he has 11 books. He's currently writing autobiography of Venusian. He has 12 books now. Venus Rising, Rockets to Venus, that dispels every lie about Venus and the spaceship program. Oh, it's too high temperature, but they're looking at the ionosphere. Yes, it's 1,000 degrees in the ionosphere, but on the surface, there is areas in the northern and southern hemisphere where they have enough oxygen. There's a huge volcano up there, and it emits kind of a yellow sulfur smoke, and that's called Mons Venus, but it's around the center. So Raymond took a tour up there, and you're going to be learning about that in his autobiography, which will be released at my conference. So, so the story is that in 2012 she was taken to Venus. She came to Raymond in China, and she said she went into he was in a bar, and she walked in, and she goes, "Hi, Cos." They call him Cosmic Ray. And he goes, "Dolores Barrios," because he had met her in Yucca Valley with the same guy that told me about. So we're connected through Gabriel Green, who used to be Abraham Lincoln, now is a resident on Alpha Centauri. And I've had a little message back and forth through the Queen with them. It's pretty cool. So by the way, this doesn't make me special. I'm just a postman delivering a message. I've had wonderful experiences, but trust me, I'm human. My personal blemishes should not be associated with the message. And it's about love and hope. It's not about spaceships. I'm not trying to tell anyone you need to follow Jesus or anything like that. But I need to explain that real quick too, because a lot of things. Well, Val said, no, Christianity, the religion, the dogma is not what they're about. The gentleman that held the camera when I had a video recording, there was a video recording of me and the moon base commander, Aura Rains. And I'm allowed to share a picture of her in her previous time on Earth. And she's always been here. They can change their bodies a little bit. So I'm going to show you a picture now, the picture of the woman in the black jumpsuit. This is Commander Aura Rains. This picture was taken in the 50s at George Van Tassel's Giant Rock. She was voted the Queen of Outer Space. But here on the left is the George Norrie of the day, Long John Nebel. And he was interviewing Howard Menger, another Venusian contactee who built a spaceship. That's another story. On the right is the real Frank Scully. So this is her I won't talk about what her lifetime was then. She is currently on the earth. And so I'm going to go back to Raymond Keller meeting here in the B bar. And she says, I'm starving. And so he orders her a vegetarian pizza because she's vegetarian. And then she says, I'm in my etheric double. My other body, I'm acting as a Brazilian translator. I'm working at the Lopner rocket base in China, but I'm free tomorrow. Would you like to go to an ascension party? And he says, does that mean I'm going to Venus? She goes, come on down, Kaz, you're going to Venus. So she came up to his apartment. They went up to the roof, and she activated a device, which is called a Nimbus. It's a little security device. I was going to show you the video of that, but you're going to have to see the website. I posted on other things, but we had technical difficulties. So she goes up to the roof, and she creates a glass bubble. It's kind of like a Supergirl's bubble. So they travel to this island in a lake in Tibet, and as he comes in, he can see Valiant Thor's Victor class flagship of the fleet, and I can show it to you. Here's a picture of it. Dr. Frank Strange's did this, had this made. That's the ship, and it's also known by the governments as the Dark Knight. But so he landed at the lake. There were 5,000 of these other orbs appearing, and they were with Venusians and Earth-based visitors. And so there was a Tibetan flags, and all the monks were out there, and the Venusians were landing. Now, when they land, and this will help you understand the spirituality of the Tibetans and those in Peru, when the Nimbus lands, it opens up like a lotus flower. And if you look on all the Buddhists flying in the sky, those are the ascended masters and women that are from Venus, that when they come and land, those are like, we could call them demigods, but they will never let themselves be called gods because there's only one living God. So there's another question that someone said, New Testament is garbage, blah, blah, blah. Well, you can have your beliefs. You know, some people say I'm not having real experiences and I'm not getting messages. It doesn't change the fact that it's real. You know, people did the same thing with Alex and called him crazy. So I don't really care. And I'm not interested in arguing or fighting with anyone, including other very, very well and sometimes more established contactees who have had more direct physical contact upstairs than me. But I'll just say this. I asked the security chief, Alon, who is holding the camera, and if you do join my inner circle or come to my conference, you will see that recording. He held the camera he went like this. I watched him. He's 2,400 years old. So he held the camera, went like this, went, and it didn't move. I mean, this camera was rock solid for 28 minutes. It made a little move when he panned over to Raymond sitting next to me. But I had a communication. I was allowed an official voice recorded message from the Venusians to the people of Earth. I asked 13 questions, 8 were answered. They had to have a script, because with me, I'd start asking this political, that political. They don't want to focus on the dark. They told me many times, Rob, it's the light that pushes out the darkness. Don't obsess. I was going, what about the code? What about this? And what about that? I was going all that. And they said, we have it well under control. And as we move forward with the great messages from Elena Danan, Michael Solo's information, and what the Venusians have told me, we have made tremendous progress, and we're no longer, you don't have to worry about any government mind control. The bad guys are gone. We're freer than you would think. They're making a lot of propaganda, but they don't have any power. They're literally broke. And that's another conversation that we can leave, but you can research my website. The Venusians are very much related to Christ, and I'll explain this. Corey Good was correct, and they did confirm Corey Good has had experiences with blue avians. In the book Lady Columba, Venus Revelations, you will see pictures of blue avians drawn by a woman from Earth. And let's show the picture of the two beautiful women in the red berets. This is Lady Ankara and Lady Aurora. Lady Ankara, the blonde, Lady Columba, the one on the left, was born on Earth in 1902. You can see they have golden pens up there. And these two women on an official mission from the Venusians, they wear red berets or raspberry berets. That gives you the name of Prince. Prince had a contact, I don't know which Venusian, but she wore a raspberry beret. And he changed his name to the symbol of Venus. And he was a very outside the box guy. So he became a lover with one of these Venusians. So not this one, not these, no. So they were appearing at Raymond Keller had finished his two books, Rocket to Venus and Venus Rising, the history of Venus and the truth of the secret space program. So now we're looking at Corey Goode someone said he's a phony. He's real. I mean, he has some problems, I'll say. He spoke at my conference and whatever. I don't want to talk bad about him. He's got his personal situation going on. But I think that you need to understand, I'll talk about what the security chief said. So these two women appeared, and the woman on the left handed Raymond a transcript. She lived on the moon of Venus, and she was working in and out of time. The Queen said they travel in and out of time. They were working with a parallel Earth number 4, which goes into Oversoul. That's another metaphysical level there. But she served on the Angel Force. So she wrote this book, and she wanted to publish it as fact, but they wouldn't publish it. They said it's fiction. So she handed that transcript to Raymond at this conference in 2015. And so Raymond has now written that book and annotated it and put all the footnotes in it. And the woman on the right, she served in the Andhra Pradesh region of India. This woman on the left, at the age of 27 in 1929, the Great Depression, picked up and went to India to help the poor, the downtrodden, the homeless, next to this woman on the right. And her name is Lady Aurora. She was a guide for the East India Company, and she was taking them up there, and they were gone all this trekking for 2 weeks above Hardwar and Lakshmanjula and Badrinath and the high Himalayas where the masters are. And they were coming down, and she said, "Oh my God, there was a beggar there. He had a bad leg," and he said, "Oh, can you help me food?" And he goes, "Give him some water and a sandwich." And she says, "We can't leave him here. You know, in his condition, it'll take days to get down." They said, "You will not get paid," the British. And so she said, she gave him the finger, she got some food, and she nursed him down the hill, walking with the cane. She gets to the bottom, and remember Hebrews 13:2, "Be ye kind to strangers, lest you entertain angels unaware." He stood up, he said, "You have great compassion." And they dematerialized and they went to Venus. So she became a dual citizen, probably living out her life on Venus. And the woman on the left was telling people in 1994, before she passed over, she goes, "I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die." And she didn't. Well, she did. She went to sleep. They came in that night, like Dr. Frank Strange. I came in on his deathbed at the hospital. He said Doc and Valiant Thor were in the room. I said, they help heal you? And he shook his head no. He says, "I'm waiting for the good news." So they took his memories, and they have a cloned body waiting for you. So Dr. Raymond Keller passed away and woke up in a new body. He is now an ascended master in the 7th dimension, actually. So this woman became ascended, and this is her beautiful body, and she serves in the Angel Force. She doesn't live here. She comes and goes on various missions. So her picture can be shown. Same thing with the woman on the left. So now you understand the Venusian mission in terms of protecting the Earth from radiation and being the primary confederation that has reported to the universal councils, and recently, along with the help of the Pleiadians, who actually knew what was going on here, have garnered all that support with the millions of ships that have been reported coming here and kicking ass on the Draco, the Greys, the Naboo, and all of that stuff. So let's see. No, so none of this maybe one of the GISC. So here we see this interaction, and their mission is about love and hope. Now, she did talk about fearing God, and I asked Raymond, I said, "God, why do we fear God?" And he says he means nature, because mankind has interfered with the earth because of what's taking place. There's a scientific explanation. Right now, the Earth is going through a 55 million mile hydrogen cloud. Most people know that in outer space, the temperature outside the Earth's atmosphere, all the way out in Pluto, and you look at all your space movies, a little hole in the suit and they become a frozen popsicle. Now, the temperature in outer space since 2020 has been increasing. The temperature now is a little over 10,000 degrees. Now, let's combine this with the natural 11-year solar cycle of solar flares. And these solar flares, as the Earth rises up and down through the ecliptic of the grand central sun, which is, let's talk about the galaxy. It's 100.
The galactic plane.
The galactic plane, right? So the the galaxy is about 110,000 miles across. We have 25,000 light years on our side, 25,000 on a ring, and it's around a black hole. And the planets closest to that black hole are mentioned in the Mormon religion, and they're called it's called the Kolob. And there's pictures in Egypt of the mantis beings around there, and they're the guardians of the portals. Remember years ago, and I remember Alex, like I can recite him. He goes, there's something happening. I don't know what it was, but the reptilians, they can't travel as fast here. They kind of limited them. That was, the portals are controlled by the mantis beings, and with all the reptilian negative activity, they just shut them down. And so they were like reduced in their ability to do their stuff. I'm sure I wouldn't claim anything more than what Alex stated, and we have to use our imagination. And by the way, the things I say are my own opinion based on my experiences. I'll never, if anyone tells me anything, like Raymond Keller told me about bee people, and I was like Jerry Seinfeld, or like what's her name in Seinfeld, get out. I couldn't believe it. So he explained to me. So I want to say Corey Good was correct. The Venusians come from a planet, he said they called them Norcans. I'm going to clarify that. Norca was a planet in Tau Ceti 24 million years ago. The Venusians knew that there were going to have some type of planet or asteroid was going to explode. There was life was for 1,500 or 2,000 years. Their whole civilization began working towards space exploration, and they created these giant motherships, and they saw that their life could be inhabited out on this end of the radial arm of the galaxy. So they go out here and they landed, they came to Earth, but the native population that was developing here was a lemur. And so they decided to step back, and they did land on Mars and of course on Venus. Venus native population are bees. So when Corey Good said, I saw some ants up there when he was down in the valley, they wanted to know what happened when he tried to clear the kind of vampire-like beings that when Corey came in as a distraction, he goes, oh, he goes, they go, and they, the little Oompa Loompas, got him. So he was used like bait in front of this guy. So he did explain that he was taken to Venus because they wanted to see what hell happened. We wanted that guy alive. So that's what happened. And the Venusians lived there peacefully on a prehistoric planet until about 18 million years ago. There was something called the Syrian Shift. And this took place in Sirius, where the beings from Aldebaran and the Pleiades were very much involved in genetically altering species, just like the reptilians were here. They didn't ask permission in those days. And they took the humans and the bees on Venus because the bees allowed the Venusians to live there, and they hybridized them. And they had this real technology, which you had to be human to access, and they created a population of bees and people. So eventually, I won't go into that. That's in the third book, Cosmic Race Excellent Adventure, but they regained their genetics back to human and bee population. So Venus right now, the most of the planet, it's not inhabitable. There was a super Earth that used to be called the Morning Star that we would know as Maldek, that exploded, and one of the asteroids hit Venus with such a power that Venus rotates in the opposite direction that we do. They have 119 days of night and 119 days of day. And that planet that exploded is now the asteroid belt the next size of particle comes down to the Kuiper belt, and the smaller particles would be called the Oort cloud. So that's the devastation that used to take place, and they would not allow any of the negative destruction of the planet. So they had very strong laws that if they made a covenant with the planet and the Earth defaulted and invited Satan in. So although the Venusians and the Federations did not like what they were doing, they couldn't do anything until those covenants expired in 2012. So there's a little bit of that. I have, I'm going to let you, if you have a question, I have one more recording that's very cool that you might want to listen to.
Well, I just want to ask people in the chat, are you blown away yet? You know, are you blown away? It's fun to have friends like this, you know. Rob, you're knocking it out of the park, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, I see. Yeah, Tiamat. There's different names for that. It was known as the Morning Star, and the being that came here, he's the offspring of Anu and an Orion queen to end the galactic wars back then, because they were blowing up entire worlds, and then they had a reset, and they go, we can't do this anymore. They created this supreme. If anyone violates any of the contracts, everyone's going to blow you up. So that's what happened recently. The reptilians were very tricky here. They came in and they hybridized. They had from the sixth dimension, they, from the time when they were here, they hybridized. They created a group of human reptilians. And then you've seen that picture of the Rothschildian with a giant Egyptian head. So, and as has been reported by ED there, who works with you guys, and she has reported correctly that they've been kicked out. And now we got the Neomuk, the giant spider beings that kick ass on the Sirikar. We're completely free and clear. We're moving into a golden age. It used to be light, neutral, and dark, and the whole thing is shifting. So there's the Khazarians are actually, I'm from Mount Shasta, California. You can see my website, thepromiserevealed.com. Originally, I was from Laguna Beach, California, and I kind of hit the birth lottery there. Very, very beautiful. So I'm living here now because it's cheaper, and it's very beautiful. So when you look at the situation on the planet today, we have been sold out by these traitors to humanity. And Alex, I mean, he's, he just shakes his head. So many times I've watched him, and he just goes, well, and he just, he was so reluctant to talk about the very disturbing aspects of this particular race that looks at us like chickens. We have chickens, and they had chickens. And so we don't focus on this horrible negativity. We recognize our sovereignty, our power, and that's going to come in the next message. So if we could play that second message, I'll let that go, and that will be it for today. We're going to hear now from the Queen, and before you play it, I'm going to give a little intro. So she actually is here, and she says a stationary orbit over Landers, California. This is where the giant rock is. They talk about contact in the desert, that big conference. Well, that's where I saw the thing, and that's where a spaceship landed in front of me. That's another story. With Gabriel Green said, you got a phone call. He said the ascended master Alarian is sending a teacher, because I was having out-of-body experiences with Fred. So he called me. I got on the phone. I called him back, and I hung up. I was 23, so I could have just gone out partying in Palm Springs. But the phone call rang, and it had like a fire alarm. And I was walking away, and people were looking at me. Pick it up. It's obnoxious. There's people in the store, in the parking lot across the street. And I picked it up, and it echoed. So I know that was a phone call from outer space. This guy came out. Long story short, he took me out in the desert with a couple other people, and a spaceship landed in front of me, and I had a telepathic communication with Semyasi that put me at ease, because all of my experiences with her were just the ship's lighting, and so those amazing experiences have led me to and prepared me. So Giant Rock is very close to there. So I had two contacts. Contact doesn't want anything to do with me, talking about Venusian messages and contacts. They told me, we want researchers. So that's how it goes. So it's okay. As the extraterrestrial presence becomes known, I'm going to tell you one more prediction here. They say that in 2025, some event will occur and the Earth will never be the same. I don't know if that's a contact or flyby. So she is stationed now above Landers, California. And that is giant rock. She's in a geosynchronous orbit. In other words, she's just over that area, and she's recording this message and giving it to the security chief, who's 2,400 years old. He was born under Darius the Great. He was a Zoroastrian beekeeper, a high magus, and he was taken to Venus and ascended, and he has been the security chief. And I asked him, I said, "You walk with Christ?" And he said, "Yeah, many of us were there, but the master never needed our help." He said he proved his love for humanity by dying on the cross. He proved his divinity by his resurrection. So Raymond Keller wrote a book called The Gospel of Thomas, which he used the technology of the breastplate of Aaron and some other things to use a bilocation signal and look into the past. So this is going against Christian, but he had a twin brother, and he was married to Mary Magdalene, and that's in that book. You can look it up. So he said, I was also a magi one of the magi with two friends of mine from Persia at the time of his birth. So now let's just play that message. She's in an orbit. She's sending the message, and she's going to talk about the importance of dreams and the evolution of consciousness. There's so many people coming forward now that are going to have tremendous psychic experiences. So this will kind of conclude my thing. If you have questions or whatever Alex would like to do, and go forward. So thank you so much. We'll play the message now.
Dear friends of Venus in Europe and North America, this is the Queen, Order of Abahar, speaking to you via radio communique from a Saturn-class patrol craft in a stationary orbit above Landers, California, in the United States, dated 18 April 2024 at 0900 hours Pacific Standard Time, as it is measured in the 8th longitudinal time cycle of your planet. It has been recorded by my security chief, Alan, at a safe house on the ground in the western United States, to later be played during the From Venus with Love conference at the Hohenfels Castle in southern Germany, 4th through 7th of July 2024, as well as the Heaven on Earth Manifesting Paradise conference at Mount Shasta in Northern California, 18 through 21 July 2024. Thank you to Anja Schaefer of Germany and Rob Potter of California for making these conferences possible. Our congratulations are extended to Dr. Raymond Keller, Cosmic Ray, for his authoring of 2 new books, The Real Resident Aliens and Autobiography of a Venusian. And our thanks are heartily extended to Omnek Onek, the ambassador for Tithania, one of the higher dimensional places of Venus, for her ongoing work in bringing illumination to the seekers of wisdom on your planet, in addition to fostering an aura of compassion, love, and understanding wherever she goes. Both Cosmic Ray and Omnek Onek have been true to their most important missions to Earth's material plane. In a prior communique, I spoke of the perilous times ahead for your world as you, the elect, are guided by angels and enter the transitional phase to a more paradisiacal planet of abundance and love. I pointed out the signposts along the way, what you would need to keep an eye out for in regards to the times and seasons, to avoid many pitfalls that will surely overtake the less illumined ones. Now, I want to provide you with 3 activation keys to help you make the required jump in cosmic consciousness, thus allowing you to access the higher realms when the time is right. When our commander, Valiant Thor, spoke to you about his opening up of the night classes carried out aboard his Victor 1 spacecraft, he was signaling the readiness of certain ones among you to proceed further along the paths of transition, and even for yet smaller cohort, translation into the celestialized spheres, or God worlds, as some of your philosophers know them to be. This quickening process is dependent upon and accelerated through your becoming dream masters. We, the descendants of Norca and the inhabitants of Aberhar, cannot say enough about the importance of sleep to ourselves or to you, the human beings, for both your physical, psychological, and spiritual development. For as you are now, we once were. That is why you have much to learn from us and our prior experiences. While in the sleep phase, all facets of your bodily presence in multiple dimensions are rejuvenated. I repeat, while in the sleep phase, all facets of your bodily presence in multiple dimensions are rejuvenated. While realizing the importance of dreams, however, many have erroneously assumed that they have no control over them. When we are asleep, we are in the flow of cosmic spirit. By the power of this spirit in the dream state, our higher self allows us to make connections with people, ideas, places, and things that we have encountered during our waking hours. In this state, linkages can also be made with subconscious memories. That is why our dreams require a careful analysis conducted with spiritual discernment. Being out of the physical body, except for a silver cord allowing us to return to Earth, we find ourselves outside of both space and time, at least as we know it. But this allows us to gain new perspectives and understanding through divine gnosis, even to the point of being able to predict future events through the correct interpretation of omens and signs encountered in the dreamscape. There are various types of dreams that we might experience, and our consciousness will be raised to yet higher levels as we attempt to exercise a greater control over our individual dreaming process. When we have dreams of essential nature, we experience pleasure to our bodies through varied stimuli. This is the most basic level of dreaming. The second class of dreaming comes through projection. Here is where we encounter teachers or guides, as in the case of the night classes aboard the Victor 1 with Valiant Thor and his crewmates. Through projection, we can gain the information required to pass by the cherubim and also other guardians angels at the gates of celestial worlds. In the ancient mystery schools, most of the revelations imparted by oracles were initially gained through projective dreams. The third class of dreaming involves memories of past lives. This is very important in clearing karma accumulated through prior incarnations. The fact that you are here today, listening to my voice, tells me that you are probably in your last, or at least one of your last incarnations to be experienced on the Earth's physical plane. You are ready to move on to another physical but more advanced planet like Aberhar, or perhaps one of the astral level like Titania. You can discover the karmic bonds that you need to free yourself from by merely thinking about past eras of your planet that you seem to have some affinity for or interest in, and your guardian angel or some other guide will surely help you travel back to that place and time in your dream state. Make sure and keep a notebook and pen by your bed so you can quickly write these memories down before you lose them from the recollection. The last category of dreams is spiritual realms, where we are empowered with all spiritual and metaphysical gifts just like the prophets, apostles, and saints of your world's history, ancient and modern. After waking up from a spiritual dream, don't be surprised if you suddenly have precognition. If you can astral travel with ease, even physically bilocate or possess a wide variety of psychic abilities far beyond anything you ever imagined. A typical spiritual dream might involve being guided by an angel or noble sage to some fantastic planet, perhaps one of the god worlds in the pleroma like Barbella or Kolob. Now, here is something that all we of Venus on any level have come to learn about dreams. Even the waking state is just another level of dreaming. The ancient Hindus called it Maya or illusion. Your physical body, in turn, is just a spacesuit for your oversoul to operate on the Maya plane through your own body, which is simply one of the numerous aspects of your oversoul. The ability to master environment in one's awakened state comes through practice at manipulating dreams in the sleeping phases. I repeat, the ability to master the environment in one's awakened state comes through practice at manipulating dreams in the sleeping phases. Through tapping into Source, you truly have the power to shape your destiny and that of your planet beyond anything you have previously conceived. I want to conclude my remarks with a synopsis of the message of her book, A Course in Miracles, as given by Marianne Williamson in 1992, but forever remains relevant to all the peoples individually of Earth. Quote, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightened us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same." This is the Queen, Order of Abahar. Thank you for your kind attention.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have some questions for Rob? James, how do you want to do this? You want to do it the same way we did with JP, or are there questions specifically for Rob that we can?
JP can ask him.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I'm just bringing up the questions here.
Okay.
So, right, there we go. There we go. So, first question is from Roger Kendrick. A question for Rob. Which Pleiadians are assisting the planet right now, and how are they doing this?
Well, you have to understand the universe is a vast place. Where the Pleiadians exist is in the Taurus cloud. There are over 250 stars. Many of them have emigrated there from long ago. The ones that I was having experiences with were from the planet called Era, and those are one of the seven sisters. There's a whole series of things I would not presume to know exactly, but I know there was a Pleiadian named Hatan who was working very much around. Actually, I saw a photograph he had given. They took a camera to outer space from Richard Miller. This is in the like early 70s, and we had a tour of the universe. They showed pictures of their giant storeroom of crystals that are where they keep their records. And they actually showed some of the pyramid designs that Fred had given to us on my website, you can look up the pyramid systems. They were giving us technology called divine intervention. So, I mean, I think Elena would certainly have a better understanding of that. But I know that in the beginning, they did not want to interfere. They were very concerned about the implantation, and they're very like when Billy Meyer, they went around a tree. They were so sensitive to the tree that they changed its time. So there's a tree that he took a film around, and then he went back and it was completely gone. They moved it to the 1600s or something. I mean, that's respect for life that we can't even imagine. So I know that Fred was complaining they wouldn't do anything. And then Fred goes, the Andromedans are here. And I go, the Andromedans? And he goes, yeah. So he arranged a meeting, and he said, okay. I said, can I talk? And because he would occasionally telepathically work with them, and he was working with an Andromedan named Lyra. And I don't know if she was from the exact area or an A that Alex talks about. But I said, so what makes them different? And he said they're a lot more active. They control the galactic pathways, and they're going to get it done. And the Pleiadians are very materialistic, technologically advanced, and they were just very hesitant. I think they came in full force. I met a Pleiadian in Canada once, and he had to go through. He was living at a Habsburg house. He was working with the government. There were graves there. He was like afraid they were going to try and kill him, but he made it back. He was very sensitive. And so when he went back, the story is that he had to go through a tremendous amount of testing, because they had ways of subtly implanting, and they could infiltrate a being. And so I just know that it's very challenging, and Alex probably has more information on the various groups. But I'll say one last thing. I did talk to Alon. I said, all these people fighting amongst themselves, and I won't name names, but there's a lot of people, this person, blah, blah, blah. It becomes an ego. Alex and I know a rookie mistake. We don't talk about anyone else. We let our words speak for ourselves, and we don't have to defame others and extol ourselves that our information is correct. The point I'm making is, I asked Alon, I said, why don't you take us all up at once for like 20 minutes and give us a straight mission? And he said, well, Rob, he said, there are thousands of federations and alliances. He said, each alliance has an agenda. Each planet in that alliance has an agenda. Each of the ETs that's talking to someone has an agenda. And the biggest one is a filter of the Earth-based human, who may not understand or something, and in their mind, they can switch something to their own beliefs and have a little different output. It doesn't deny that they've had a real experience. So we just have to keep our discernment down, and we don't have to say, well, so and so said that, so you're wrong. You're just a troller listening. You don't know that person's experiences. And what I really like today is these wonderful new kids. There's a woman coming, Lily Nova, not into ETs whatsoever. And she starts taking pictures during COVID. Next thing you know, she's having contact. Her whole life, she's not a woo-woo person. Another example is Lowell Johnson. I was the first person to interview him. I was the first person to have him speak at my conference, and he wasn't doing anything. He's sitting on the mountain. The door opens up, and he goes inside Telos. I asked him a couple questions. He said the Venusians gave them this pyramid. It's called the Living Stone. And his description was the exact same as Louis Martens, who's coming to my conference, who's went inside the inner earth on 3 different locations. So Lowell didn't know a spaceship from an etheric double. He just is this spiritual TM meditator who has an incredible soul and spirit. And he was ordained to have this experience. He's had a couple of experiences psychic since then, but he's not political. He doesn't know this stuff, but his experience is real. I think this is validity.
In other words, you have to have an open mind, and you have to keep it open. Because if you don't have an open mind, you're learning more and more about something which ends up being nothing. Okay? because if one element of that information is misinterpreted or is wrong, then what tends to happen is you throw away everything. This is why it's very important to always have an open mind, to gather information, okay, to use it, filter it through your own discernment and your own gut instinct, intuition, to know what resonates. And the resonated frequency of information will shift as your consciousness shifts. Okay, you'll be drawn to whatever it is you need to know based on your consciousness. We're all on that same journey. Every single one of us is on that exact same journey. And as I've said all along, none of us have all the pieces. Okay, because that person would be dead if they did. Okay.
With Alex, when I started reading his information, and I can tell my ET sense, I go, this is the real deal. He was explaining so much. I was just data dumping. I was just going, all of that I don't believe anymore. Alex said this. And I definitely hold on to everything, but you have to keep open mind. Any other questions here that JP?
Oh, got loads.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So here's one question from Chantal Berclaz. Dear Alex and Rob, as the focus is on the fall of the deep state, the cabal, how will we address murders and sex crimes horrifically rampant in the population, with children and women being primarily targeted? Obviously, punishment rarely works. Will these people of low frequency just move on as the shift happens? Thank you for your ongoing commitment years after years to put together wonderful speakers in this magical place that is Mount Shasta. That's from Chantal.
Thank you. I'll let Alex start with that one.
That's an excellent question. As the frequency increases, we will find that those people of low vibration will be separated away. How they transfer out, how they leave, exactly what that looks like, I genuinely don't know at the moment. That's not a question I've asked. That's not a question I've asked the A's about, because primarily the focus was on first the regressive ETs that were here, the children, then humanity, and the traitors that are human that have been betraying humanity all along for power and for ever eternal life that they were promised, which they're not getting at all now, because they've been abandoned by their gods. So I don't have an answer to that question.
Well, from what the Queen says, so we got this hydrogen cloud here, and you have the solar flares. These are being turbocharged by the temperature. That's a natural event. They can't shift our entire solar system in a different orbit. So this is a cyclic thing that as we come through the plane of elliptic, we're getting more light from the galactic central sun, you call it the galactic plane. So what Alex has, he's talked about this before. So these cyclic frequencies are coming in, and there's cycles upon cycles upon cycles coming to a head now. This is like a Maha cycle. So now we're going into a golden age, and they're clearing out the entire galaxy of these regressives. Now, these people need healing. So on the Earth, we have to we go back to my great friend and incredible contactee, J.J. Hurtak, who was taken out of his body, went to a midway station of Arcturus. You need to read Keys of Enoch. His books are extremely scientific, but on a personal level, he's speaking at the highest level, and he's clarified that we have there's a biochemical testing zone to determine which type of genetic race species can overcome the fallen master from Ursa Minor, Ursa Major, Polaris, and Thuban, and these are some of the fallen ones. And so we have both these high-level souls here. Because of the fall that was taking place, many souls in the Urantia book, if you read that, It's called the Reserve Corps of Volunteers. All of a sudden start coming up and taking incarnations here, 1,000, 2,000 years ago, knowing that at this time there was a big light shift coming, and you have to take up 11 to 13 incarnations on the planet to have a cycle. And you know how bad it's going to be. And then when you're in body, you go, there's no way I thought it could be this bad, but it's that bad. But in the term of eternal life, you've had hundreds of millions of lifetimes on other worlds. You are incarnating and growing and learning. And what are you gathering in your soul experience? You're not gathering money, cars, millionaire, ego. You're gathering honesty. You're gathering, charity, wisdom, temperance, faith, courage, wisdom, equanimity, continence, perseverance. These are the things that you take with you, that you do. You're not focused on the material. Semyasi, we asked her a question, and and she said, Rob, you think you know something, and you realize you know nothing at all. Knowledge are steps on an endless ladder. It's the connection of the wisdom that it opens the intuition that you have a direct knowing and experience. We're in an entropic material universe where everything arises and decays and falls, even the human body. So even Dr. Frank Strange has died, but they came down, they had a thing, and they took him up. Now, what's going to happen in the evacuation that's spoken of in the Bible, this is not a doom and gloom for everyone on earth. I don't want anyone to go in fear because we're going into tribulation. But what's going to happen is we have this asteroid, the moon, is coming between the earth and the moon. If we can remove it, if we become aware of that, it's possible it could stop. It's called Apophis, and it's going to come 400 miles. That's why she said, never since the time of Noah and Moses has the earth seen such tribulation. When Moses was here, the waters turned red. What is that? That's microcystis. The algae dies, the fish die, the animals meet that, and you have these naturally occurring plagues. I said, you tell me that the pale horse hasn't strode across our sky. What's COVID? I thought we were out of that. And they just said, they didn't really explain it. They just let me to ponder what they're saying. They don't want to defend their words. But I was like, I thought we were moving into the light. We are. So let's see this series as we face the sun and the solar flares hit us. This is interfering, as Alon says, and you can read this on my website. I have the videos and the voice record. It's all available to the public, but you have to look. So, and my YouTube. So he said, he said these solar flares are interacting with your Earth's magnetic field on many levels that your scientists don't even comprehend. And what is taking place, because the cherubim and the seraphim, these fallen beings that were part of heaven's administration, were working with Lucifer, they had opened up these advanced portals of energies and technologies that were opening up to the lower astral realms of these antimatter beings that were intending to rule the earth. So that's over now. It can't happen. They don't even have access here. There's all the leaders of this are gone. They're down to 40-year-olds, family members, the Pallavicinis and the Chinese elders. Most of them are dying rapidly. So the frequencies are going to increase. This is going to activate our DNA. It's also going to be challenging for the growth resistant, for those who are not ready, whose cup is full, like Alex said, who are not open-minded and willing to change their beliefs and understanding. The religions are going to be crushed. Because I talk about Christ, I'm not talking about the church. That's actually a Luciferian church. You hear the Pope talking about Lucifer. So there's so many lies that when this happens, people are going to be shocked.
We've got a frozen Rob, unless it's me.
It's you. It's you.
It's you. It's you.
Yeah, it's you. Listen, I want to make a comment on the chat. Ross, I saw your question. I will address it when Rob leaves. Okay?
Okay.
So let's.
Can I stay and
do we have
listen
another
to
question?
Oh.
Does anybody have a question for Rob?
All right, yeah, I got a frozen screen. Yeah, so questions. Here we go. Yeah, oh yeah. Carol is asking, thank you for your years of work for humanity, both of you. Rob, in the past, you often had webcasts with Cobra. Are you still in contact with him? Is he still around? Yes, I remember doing the doing his sound. Oh, it looks like you've got a Collier in the background.
Yeah, that's my employee coming. So Cobra, he's had real experiences. He did have experiences with Semyasi. We had some. He wanted to censor me, and I'm an individual. I support people, but I don't take a second place to that. Anyone, and he was trying to censor me. So, and his, I'll just say that he made some personal decisions in how he was relating to his following, but he's had real experiences. I know that some of the things that he posted as his own were not really from him. He was working with some psychics, and so, but I believe he's well intended. Some of his information is good. I think some of his information on the financial reset is based on his contacts with Russian military intelligence. There are white hats in there, but they don't really. There's another level of things that are going on. So I would say that's it. And so I guess I think it's time I should conclude here. I want to say thank you to Alex, JP, and James for this incredible and allowing me to present these messages and let people hear them. My website, thepromiserevealed.com. I have a summer conference. You can check it out. They're pretty reasonably priced. I mean, it's $300 for 4 days. You can camp, for $100 a person for 5 days. Motel rooms or more. But Alex has come here and he's beloved. And I got so many. Alex is not coming, and I just, Alex is retired, and we have to honor and respect that. But he's still here for people. I had a question. Does this become fully available to the public at a certain point in time, or is this always a pay-per-view?
We'll talk with that offline.
Okay. Other thing. Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, you're going to mention some things to the people. I mean, as if it's information about. I mean, if I could listen, I'd love to hang around anonymously without my camera.
Oh, that'd be fine. Yeah, if you just want to
Okay.
hang out, you're more than welcome to do that.
Thank you all so very much, and maybe we'll see you at my conference. God bless you, Alex and James and JP. Thank you so much.
Rob, it's an honor and a privilege to have you. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've never been to Mount Shasta, it is not to be missed. It's one of my favorite places in North America. Just amazing. The forests are incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, Rob, peace out, brother. We'll talk.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
If you could turn off my camera, I don't know how to do that. There we go.
Okay. And mute yourself.
Yeah.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share some things with you. This information is information that's come to me from different sources. However, I have been able to verify it. So I'm going to start with the Trump trial. It has been reported that the White Hats military have arrested at least 3 of the jurors. This is in fact true. They took bribes. It's also going to be reported very soon that it turns out that 11 of the 12 jurors took bribes. They were paid off. The 12th juror who was able to get in there was a white hat. That's how we know. So all of this information has already reached the desk of Clarence Thomas. So we should see some very interesting fireworks here in the next couple of weeks. Number 2, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night's Sunday morning, our Sunday morning, the US dollar will no longer be the petrodollar. technically it will have no intrinsic value whatsoever. And that's just what it is. Terrible, terrible things have been done in the name of the American people around the world. Things that we don't know about that we're going to be finding out about. And we are going to be appalled at the information we get. So this has had to happen. Now, there is another financial system in place. That information will be shared very, very soon, probably in the next few weeks. Sometime this next week, and that would start today till probably next Saturday, a specific foreign currency is going to revalue. It could happen tomorrow for all we know, but it's literally imminent. And that's because everybody understands what's about to happen, that many of these countries and these banks base the value of their currency on the USD, which now will have no intrinsic value. So everybody is scrambling to get ahead of this issue, even here in the United States. We have issues. There's going to definitely be some twists and turns and some bumps in the road. But these things have to have happened. This is in fact, and I've said this before, a controlled demolition of the U.S. financial system, the fiat currency system. This had to happen. So there's no need to freak. There's no need to panic. No one's going to be robbed. Okay. Everything that you have in banks, in IRAs, all these things has been copied onto another system, a backup system, the quantum system, the new current banking system. Each bank is going to be calling it something different. I believe Wells Fargo calls it Sapphire. In fact, Wells Fargo's not even using SWIFT anymore. It's already on another system. So you see, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that hasn't been openly shared yet, because they wanted everybody to focus on the deep state. It's imperative that everybody understand who and what they are. Now, I was asked about the A's. Am I still talking to them? And I said yes. But a lot of the information I have been asked not to share. Now, I want to tell you why I've been asked not to share it. According to the A's, their perspective is this: what is the thing that humanity on this planet does not know? What is the biggest thing it does not know? And that question is answered by the A's as themselves. We do not know ourselves. And they want us to specifically focus on Earth, on us, on what's happening to the human race, who the human race is, who do you want to be as a human race, and how are you going to change your stars? How do you empower yourself? That's why I've not been asked to share what the hell is happening out there, because it's not relevant to what is happening to us right here. It would be a distraction. They want us to focus on ourselves right here, right now, because we're the ones going through it. We're in the thick of it. We're trudging through the weeds. We are hacking our way through all the lies to get to the truth. That's why I've not been able to share stuff with you. And to be perfectly honest with you, it makes perfect sense, because that's who they've always been. That's who they've always been. The Theseus' statement answer to what's going to become of us it's perfectly logical that they would continue to go down that path with us of being totally self-confident and free to unconditionally be responsible for oneself without being coerced by some higher authority. Now, there are many people in the UFO movement who look at the ETs as a higher authority. This would be a mistake. They are wiser, they are teachers, they can be mentors. Doesn't mean they're better. It doesn't mean you worship a professor. Doesn't mean you worship a teacher, because at some point you will move beyond in knowledge and wisdom, then the professor, then the teacher. What do you do then? Do you worship yourself? No, of course not. So it's all about perspective. And understand that change is here. It's here. So things are definitely happening behind the scenes. But once this comes out into the open, how we react to it is going to be imperative as to what the next moves are going to be. Now, and we're going to talk about this next week on the webinar, about who it is that we want to be, humanity. We have an amazing history, ancient history of extraterrestrial civilizations, contact with different races. Some are still ongoing. Ancient civilizations, we're the 8th technologically advanced civilization on the planet that I'm aware of. And of course, we know very little about any of them, okay? But nonetheless, when we put it all into perspective, when we realize that we're not novices, when we realize that we have all this knowledge, this history that has been kept from us because we would not be controllable. They could not manage us if we had this knowledge. Well, this knowledge is not only coming out and being released, it's being released also from our DNA because of the frequencies and the things that Rob has shared and many other people, this human resonance, all this information, knowledge, wisdom is coming, it's being turned on, and you're remembering things. There is a very, very specific timeline here for all of this information and our self-reliance and our self-empowerment to come together. And ladies and gentlemen, it is right in front of us. It is right in front of us. It is not behind us. The future is directly in front of us. So if you're carrying in the past, you need to unload it. You need to let it go. It isn't serving you. Holding on to the past, holding on the grudges, holding on the hate or anger, none of that is serving you, because what you're moving to is something beyond our current imagination. It's not something we could have even imagined 25 years ago. Okay? What does a Star Trek civilization actually look like? We have the movies. That's all we have. Okay? And I want you to know that that represents this much of reality. So that's why it's important to have an open mind. That's why it's important to expect change and to be resilient, to have courage, not to fall into fear and or panic. These things are coming. That's why you're here. You chose these moments to be here to help, especially the 200 million of us who came back in time. This is it. It's right in front of us. Okay? So, deep breaths. Be sure to go out in nature and ground. If you can, 20 minutes a day, stand in the grass or in the sand with your shoes off and ground your body into the earth. Okay? She will pull all that stress out of you. It's like a roller coaster. We're on a roller coaster. Okay? And it's going to be like the first time you've been on a roller coaster. You don't quite know what to expect. That's what this is. But we get through it. Okay? At some point, humanity aligns with the current of the universe, the galaxy's frequency, and we find ourselves moving down the stream of light, and we will find ourselves on the shore looking at the earth and saying, wow, look what we can do. And we're inspired and we're energized and we just do it. We go about doing it because it's the right thing to do. Guys, you're awesome. You're stronger and more powerful than you could possibly imagine. We're going to do this. It's already more or less happened. We just have to follow through with action and with heart. Okay? James, JP, if there's any questions for me, I'd be happy to take them now. And again, I want to thank Rob. Rob, you did a great show, man. You did. You knocked it out of the park, and I'm really happy for you. And Rob puts on a great show, and it's in one of the most beautiful places. I love Mount Shasta. You know, if the politics weren't so squirrely, I would consider moving there. You know, but I can't deal with that kind of stupid, frankly. I just can't. So, and it's getting pretty stupid here in Colorado as well, which is sad. So I don't know why the stupid always goes to the really beautiful places. It doesn't make any sense to me, but anyway. All right, what do we got?
So, all right. Here's a question from Klaus. What can we expect, Alex, from the Black Swan event on this coming Sunday? Is there going to be a Black
I've
Swan?
already answered the question.
You've done that one.
Answered. Yeah.
All right.
We've already done that.
Maria Weiss, we have been seeing flashes in the night skies. Can you share anything about these?
Well, when it's a clear sky, it's obviously not lightning. It could be plasma, but more or less what it is ships coming in and out of our atmosphere. Okay? You're seeing traffic. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing traffic. And I couldn't tell you who it was because there are so many here. Okay. Next question, please.
Here's from Heximus. If martial law did happen here in the US, is it something where we can travel freely but just have to go through checkpoints as the military searches for remaining deep staters?
You know, that's an excellent question, and I don't exactly know. The last time we truly were in martial law was the Civil War. And as old as I look, I was not here for that. Okay. So I will learn just like you. I do not know. I think some areas will be shut down. Some areas specifically will be shut down. Other areas, like rural America, they may be more open. Okay. You have to remember this when it comes to the regressives, I'm lumping in humans with that as well. They have a very specific frequency. Okay, conscious frequency. we have help in reading where those consciousnesses are. They're very easy to find and pinpoint, even underground. All right. People think, well, I'm going to line my underground base with lead. That isn't going to help you. Okay, that isn't going to help you. We have the assistance of advanced races who are 10, 20, 30,000 years more advanced than we are. So they're not hiding anywhere. It's not possible. It's just a question of time in rounding them up. And this is the part where humans have to be the ones to deal with humans. Okay. Before we had the boots on the ground, they were on point, helping us remove the hybrids, most of the hybrids, and the regressive extraterrestrials. Now, when it comes to dealing with humans, it's the human benevolent military from around the world that will be dealing with this in their own countries. Okay? What the plans are for those beings, I don't know. But they keep expanding Gitmo. So I have a sense that they're going to be spending some time there until whatever is decided about them. So we'll have to see. Okay, we'll have to see. But again, the last time an entire country was under martial law here in America was the Civil War. And half the country wasn't even inhabited. So it's anybody's guess. Next question, please.
All right, here's a question from Gunmar Nybak. This is right down at the zero in the zeros here. Can you explain what has been hiding in the Antarctica, and what is the importance of it for what is coming?
I'm clearly getting not to go there right now. I'm clearly getting not to go there right now. Focus on the present, here, and now. Okay? We need to focus on the here and the now. What's happening in Antarctica is not going to affect what's going to be happening here in the United States in the next 2-3 weeks. Okay? It has no relevance whatsoever. So let's focus here. You see, this is where the A's are very adamant about stuff. Don't get distracted for things that aren't relevant, that you have no control over. It is time to focus on your present, here and now, and the things that you can control for you. Antarctica is going to be there. It'll be there 5-6 weeks from now. It could be that information will be released by someone else. Could be the military itself. That would be an excellent video for JP and Michael Sala to have a conversation about. But I'm not sure that JP is allowed to share that information yet, because it hasn't come from. It's only come from whistleblowers per se. Okay, JP's not technically a whistleblower. He is a member of the Disclosure Project. Okay. That's a very, very different position. Next question.
All right, this is one from Helen Searle. Many good signs and symbols have been turned upside down. Will we be able to erase that mal and make them bright and beautiful to us again?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes, but at the same time, as we continue to evolve, those symbols will be less and less important to us, because we will recognize them as just being symbols of something, of a truth or a piece of information for enlightenment. But once we have incorporated the enlightenment, that symbol will mean next to nothing to us because now we're moving on. In the future, we will become the symbols. All right, we already are. We are already geometric patterns and frequencies, but we will become the symbol. This is why language, other extraterrestrial races, they use symbols as a language. And their name, if you were to ask them what their name is, they would produce holographically for you a symbol. And contained in that symbol, for the ace, for example, that symbol, what they would do is they would spin it. They would spin it to the right, and then they would spin it to the left. And when you spin it to the right, it shows one part of who they are. And when you spin it to the left, it shows another part of who they are, their history. So who they are now, present to the right, spin it the other way, who they are now, their past. It's amazing stuff. Okay. The same will be true for us at some point. Next question, please.
Okay. Sorry. James is calling my Starlink Skynet. And it's about Venus. NPCs. Helen Searle is saying, are NPCs, non-playing characters, here just taking up space? Can you tell us any more about them and the role they play? Do you know what we're talking about?
Yeah, I do. And they, they're role players, and I to be perfectly honest with you, I don't spend any time on that. Um, because they're just distractions. And that's exactly what their role is. They're distractions. They're meant to take you someplace else, to give you something else to think about, so that you don't see the truth that's literally right in front of you. So I don't pay any attention to it. I always try to keep my focus on who benefits, one way or the other, who benefits by an action. And when you do that, what happens is all the players just fall away, and then what you see is who it is and what they're really trying to do. Okay. And that's the 50,000-foot view. So you're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of brain power just looking at, the NPCs. And in the end, does it even matter? Because it brings you back to where you were supposed to be, which was looking at who benefits by these actions. Okay. And a very good example of this is that there is a former state police officer, insurance adjuster, who put together a video regarding Sandy Hook. I do not remember the name of it, but I saw it just a few weeks ago. And wow. Wow. That right there, when the truth of all of that comes out, that right there would be enough to take down the United States government. The whole thing. Next question, please.
Okay, very prosaic here. Caroline is wondering, do the A's have households? Do they have stuff? Do they have to clean, like vacuuming, etc.?
They do have homes. They do. Do they have stuff? They have furniture. They have beddings. I can tell you that the room that I was given for the time that I was on the ship was very, very plain. There wasn't anything on it, in it. What I had to do is I had to put my hand on a pad. It looked like an iPad, but it was in to just think about what it was that I wanted. I had some fun with that. You know, I could make manifest a couch or a bed. I even had plants in the room. I even made it rain for a minute, okay, before I realized what I was really doing. And as soon as I took my hand off the pad, all those things disappeared, and it was just the room. And it was probably an 8 by 15 size room. I could put my hand back on the pad, and whatever it was that I manifested physically, I could do it again. I would swipe it up, and these things would stay. Now, they were physical. I would sit down on them, I could hop over them. It was the same for the food, okay? The replicator, it was the exact same thing. But I had a very, very specific diet. I could not have any flesh or physical protein programmed into it. So there were other types of protein that, in the form of vegetables, the nuts, that I could eat, which is what I did. And I've talked a little bit about that in the past, just a little bit. Um, but it was the same thing. I could literally put my hand on there and just think about what I wanted, and it would be in there, and I would swipe it up with my thumb, uh, like you would to shut down an iPhone or something. I would swipe it up, and it would remain. If I did not, and I took my hand off of it, it would just dissipate. It wasn't physically there anymore. And that's because it's all frequency. Everything is frequency. The food, this table, this pen, this the con watching this. It's all energy. Okay. It's just aligned in a different way to make it physical and to look something else. The light that is passing from my camera to your cameras is just light. It's all frequency. So when you understand that, you understand the miracle that is life. When you get that, you have the ability to clearly understand that you have the ability to create and manifest that you want. It's just holding the vision. And it's about clarity, being as clear as possible about what it is that you truly want. And that's difficult for a lot of people to know exactly what they want. And for a lot of reasons. Sometimes it's because they always put someone else's needs before their own. Sometimes it's because they've had terrible habits and they just can't think clearly. At least hold a vision of something for more than a few seconds. There's all these things. Vaccines. Somebody could be autistic, and therefore it's sometimes very difficult for them to be able to focus on any one specific thing. Although most autistic people have very, very special gifts, where they can focus on something. It sometimes takes a while to see that there's all these things. There's no one size fits all on this planet. But it isn't all of our mission to fix everyone else. That's not it. You are not responsible for someone else's happiness. They are. But you have to be willing to work on yourself to find out what truly makes you happy. And to focus on that and to create and manifest that. And that's all part of this lesson of realizing that everything is frequency. It's all frequency. Starships, their frequency. Okay. Spaceships, they're all frequency. TR3s, TR4s, TR7Bs, our space motherships, it's all frequency. Yes, it's solid, but it's still frequency. I could go on and on about this, but I think you get the gist. Next question, please.
All right. Not too many left because there's quite a few questions here for Rob here, but I think this is to both of you. What method do your extraterrestrial contacts recommend in which to make a direct connection with Source Creator? And can you teach it to us? That's from Arthur Worth.
Arthur Worth, Mr. Worth. Oh, young man, you are already talking to Source. You are already directly connected. There is nothing I can do to improve your connection because you are already connected. You always have been. Just intend to communicate directly and be open to how the information will come to you. It may not come to you like a big voice in the sky. Okay, Arthur. It may not be like that. You have to be open to it. Your perspective needs to be 360 because Source is all around us. It always has been. That's what nature is. Nature is Source. Hugging us all the time, trying to remind us that it's here. It's always been here. Okay? My journey, of course, is my journey. Yours is your journey. Each one is individual. And for the most part, it's very solitary. Okay? It's a journey that you yourself take alone. Do you have any more for me, JP?
Yeah, some perennial here. It's from Heximus. If everything went according to plan, how long do you expect it would take for the Iraqi dinars to be revalued and for us to use humanitarian projects, investing, etc.? Thank you.
Well, Heximus, once it revalues, it's my understanding that you could either go directly to the bank and exchange. Well, not every bank. Most credit unions don't deal with foreign currency. And at that point, it would be you would exchange your currency for either USD or USN. Now, if it turns out to be USD, at some point it will all be converted to USN. All right. What it looks like after that, I'm learning just like you. There's a lot of rumors, but that's exactly what they are. They're just rumors. I think because we don't know, the focus needs to be on, if you're going to do humanitarian projects, have them out. Are they written out in crystal clear language about what your intention is and how you think you could go about it? Because when you go into the RCs, the centers, in order to do the exchange, not the banks, you will sit down with Treasury and private bankers, do the exchange, and at that point, depending upon your humanitarian projects, you can ask for a different rate, a higher rate for humanitarian projects. This is apparently very specific also to the Zimbabwe 100T, 50T notes, their bonds. So if you don't have humanitarian programs, then they would offer you anywhere, from my understanding, again, this is in the rumor area, 30 to 50 million per note, just for that. The banks themselves would do something with them, or they would get some financial credit for having them on their ledger, but then they would return those to the United States Treasury, not the Federal Reserve, the United States Treasury. And what happens after that, I don't know. Those people who do know are not talking because they're under NDAs, very strict NDAs. So it's my understanding that people with bonds, Super Pacelli bonds, railroad bonds, historical bonds, they're in the process of exchanging now. Many are going to Reno to do their exchanges. And those who have already done it, they have fallen off the map because they're under NDAs. What those look like, we don't know because they're NDAs. You can't talk about them. Will we be under NDAs? I don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows for sure. So this is a first, this is a first for all of us. And there have been many, many changes to this. So we'll just have to see. I wish, Arthur, I could tell you more, but I honestly don't know. I'm very much in the same boat. I do the research. I listen to the things that people are saying. I look for the common denominators. I look for what makes common sense to do in a situation like this, to keep it as simple as possible. And once this happens, what would be the process of how would all of this extra currency benefit humanity? How would that make a transition to where it benefits everyone? Now, if our dollar is collapsing, what our government, what the United States Treasury does need is hard assets. These new currencies are all backed by gold or other assets. The Federal Reserve note is paper and ink. Literally, that's all it is. The USN, the United States note, hasn't been released yet. It doesn't matter that it's asset backed. We don't have it. So therefore, we can't use it. So our government would need hard assets in order to pay for imported goods that are sitting off our shores in boats right now, because they won't deliver it because they don't want paper and ink. They want real money. So it's a process. We would have to give them real money. So it's going to be a process. What it looks like, how long it's going to take, I genuinely don't know. Because like you, I've never been through this before. All right? But you can game it. What would you do? What would you do if you had $30 million? What would you do? You would walk it back. Okay, these are the steps I took to get it. And even you can just imagine it, but what it does is it gives you an idea of, okay, well, if this happens, what question would I ask? If that happens, I would ask a different question. You can run all these scenarios in your mind strategically and think about it. What would it look like? And then once you have it, and how would I structure it? How would I protect it? How could I share this with family? How to in programs that I can move it forward into humanitarian projects. what does that all look like? And you just have to imagine it. You have to imagine it here, how you would do it. And then when you begin to go through the process, you could be right, you could be wrong, you could be, in the ballpark with what you imagined it would be like. And then at least from there, you have some familiarity and you're not walking in like a deer in the headlights about what you want. You have a clear idea about how you want it to work for you and how you want to distribute it to help loved ones, immediate family, grandchildren, generational money, that kind of thing. So as long as you have that, the suits will not be in a position to tell you what you have to do with it. You can say, no, that's not what I want. This is how I want it to work for me. And it could be that you'll need to hire an attorney, a trust to help you structure these things for yourself. But in the meantime, your wealth will be protected. Now, there is a bank story that took place in North Carolina. And it was a gentleman who went to talk to a private banker at a Chase Bank in North Carolina. And they were talking, and the wealth manager, wasn't really up on it. It certainly hadn't been prepared for the question. Well, a VP came over and sat down with him, and she explained to her how this worked. And she told him, and I believe this story. This story came from Mark Z. That when you do your exchange, the money doesn't go into Chase. It goes into the blockchain system. An account is created by you with them at that time, and the money is moved into the blockchain system. So Chase doesn't have your money. The only money Chase will have is that which you bring back into your Chase account or whatever account you have at a bank. And that's the money that they will have access to, or that you will have access to. But the bulk of your wealth will be in the blockchain system, which no one can touch but you. Because the banking system we have all lived under for 111 years is predatory. Absolutely predatory. And it has to go away. And it is going away. Okay, so anyway, next question, please.
All right. Well, there are not too many. They're all questions for Rob. Let's just just scroll down. Here's the one to Alex and Rob. Well, you might say something. According to the Tagetons, Cosmic Agency YouTube, the war in Vietnam was fought on Venus. They brought their 3D expectations, which made Venus look 3D. What are your thoughts on that? Okay, I'll
Missions from Laos and Cambodia into North Vietnam to rescue POWs were not done on Venus. They were not done on Venus. The bullets, which were purchased out of Russia, didn't say made in Venus on them. Okay? So if that's our last question, that would be a good place to end it.
I think that's our last question.
Okay. I want to thank Rob Potter for his time. I hope you all were sufficiently blown away. I like Rob. I've always liked Rob. He's become a really great friend, and he has a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom. And certain people in this field who have a very high opinion of themselves, could really learn a lot from him. But they can't let him get out of the way. But anyway, I want to thank him. Of course, I always want to thank you for your support for our little webinars. And, you guys are the absolute best. We appreciate you so much. And we absolutely love and adore you. Each one of you is unique. Each one of you is a gift to humanity. And you should never, ever forget that. Okay. If I hear anything relevant, I will post it on alexcollier.org. I will send it to Lupe at Always Above or Knights of Terra. Okay. I will post it. There's a lot of stuff going on, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of stuff. And you got to be ready. And I'm going to say this one more time. If you don't have any silver, if you're going to procrastinate, then you're going to have a difficult time possibly. If you don't have the wherewithal to buy any silver, fill your pantry. Fill your pantry with goods that you can eat that take minimal cooking that won't spoil, like pastas, spaghettis, cereals, cream of wheat or gluten-free, whatever it is you need. Okay. Fill your pantry, fill your refrigerator, your freezers. It could be a very bumpy road. In fact, it looks like it's going to be a very bumpy road for several weeks. We'll have to see. The military has moved a lot of equipment in containers. And those containers are being protected and guarded by local police. There's a reason for that, because they're prepared for trouble. We have 22 million illegals in this country. That number's actually higher, but 22 specifically that we really don't know anything about. 8 million just in the last 3 years. It's the plan was to destroy the United States from within so that the elite could have their new world order. The only thing keeping it from happening was the United States. So they played their cards. They have played out all their cards. They put their cards on the table. An invasion and destruction from within. Everybody has seen it. All right. If you've been paying attention at all, you've seen. Now you know who the enemy is, who the traitors are. And now it's on us. Now it is on us, we the people. And we're going to talk about that again next week, about who we the people are. And the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, what they're about, why they were written, what the intention of the founding fathers was. Bullshit, they were just rich white guys. That is such rubbish. That is absolutely such rubbish. Many of the founding fathers were hung, imprisoned, drawn and quartered, for doing this. Every single one of them that signed the Declaration of Independence was considered a traitor, a felon to England. Every one of those that signed the Constitution was a traitor and a felon. They had to become rebels, outlaws, in order to free themselves from the monarchies of Europe. We are in a very similar situation today, except becoming outlaws means we are freeing ourselves from a slavery debt monetary system that is owned by the monarchs of Europe. There are so many similarities, but we're going to talk about that next week. Okay, I'm going to lay it out for you. I got my fresh box of crayons. I'm going to lay it out for you. Okay. So that's it. That's all I got. God bless. Have a great weekend. The new exchange rate for the dinar day. Remember, it's Saturday, Wednesday, or Saturdays. That's when the Gazette is published, and that's where we will see the rate. Okay? So we have a Saturday tomorrow, and if it isn't tomorrow, then we have next Wednesday or next Saturday. In country, Sadani is telling his people in the next few days. He said that earlier in the week. The next few days. Now, in Iraq, does that mean months from now, the next few days? I don't think so, because the people of Iraq have been waiting for this for over 20 years. And we are. All right? So, it happens when it happens. But there's a lot of other things going on, especially politically, that we have to pay attention to, because this is our home. This is our country. It isn't their country. It's our country. Okay, this country does not belong to a corporation. It belongs to we the people. That's the only reason there is a country, is because of we the people. Let's not forget that. All right, we're the power. We're the power. We're not the power behind the throne, because we are the power. God bless you. See you next week. Peace out. Collier out. Thanks, James. Thanks, JP. Thanks, Ron.
Navigator's dream, a course so true, through astral fields and hues of blue. Mothership commands, guiding us to distant lands. Stars on map, drawn in light, past the planet's majestic flight, to lovely orbitally germinate. Every comet's tail, a fiery trail, setting sail through the nebula veil. Galactic sea, vast and free, we ride the waves of destiny. Ship of stars, we forge our fate, a voyage far beyond the Milky Way. Malachirin, through cosmic halls we glide. Our journey just begins. Alien landscapes hold us tight. Hyperdrive glows, a spectrum so bright. I found my path along the stars. Mothership sails beyond Mars. Meteors race, set my heart alight. Galaxies swirl, a waltz of might. Stellar will sing, a cosmic flight. On this starry quest, I'm never alone. Mothership hums through the unknown. In the silent sea, I feel the pulse of stars align. Life in cadence with the universe assign. Gravity's dance, a lover's embrace. Find me caught in the star's own grace. Mothership's heart beating with mine. Feel Pfizer's blame, comets whisper, telling tales of worlds unseen. Over moonscapes we soar free. Quantum rivers flow, stars chart the course, destiny's guide. Mothership drifts on the cosmic tide.